World Designs. Oi! This episode of the Brutal Reality Digest Online podcast is brought to you by New World Designs, Vancouver's finest selection of retro-inspired fashion. Located on West Hastings Street, New World is locally owned and operated and just plain radical. They strive to bring the best in vintage reproduction brands such as Collective, Voodoo Vixen, Hell Bunny, Band Apparel, Betty Page Clothing, and more. They can also hook you up with accessories like jewelry from local designers. Aw, yeah! New World Designs is also a recognized safe place by the Vancouver Police Department, as they are inclusive to all who wish to embrace this retro look. Don't live in Vancouver? Unfortunately, neither do I. Luckily, New World Designs now offers an online store. That's right, head on over to nwdvan.com and she can ship your groovy new clothing right to your door. Still not satisfied? Tell your pals at Brutal Reality Digest sent you by using the coupon code STAYRAD and get a 10% discount. Now that's a spanking deal, folks. Once again, that's nwdvan.com, or if you're lucky enough to live right in Vancouver, head on down to 434 West Hastings Street and say hello to Jen and her lovely crew. That's New World Design.
Hey there, wrestling fans. This is Mitch, Danger Zone Clarke, the BEW Division Champ. Come watch me return to Red Deer on December 12th at Festival Hall.
Welcome to Brutal Reality Digest, online with your host, Josh Hunter.
Alright, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Brutal Reality Digest Online Podcast, better known as Bird Drop. And I'm flying solo today, but I'm pleased to welcome Mitch, Danger Zone Clarke, the Y Division BEW Champion. How's it going today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well, man. Just hanging out in Red Deer. What are you up to?
I just got finished carving a pumpkin, and well, that's as far as I've really looked in terms of activity.
Is it just a standard pumpkin, or are you doing something wrestling themed?
We might do one. I'd like to say wrestling, but more likely it's going to be in the shape of a corgi, because we have a corgi, so and they're adorable, which I know is not the toughest looking animal I could have, but whatever. I like corgis. They're adorable.
Right on, man. For the folks at home, maybe they don't know, but in wrestling there, you have your baby face and your heel. And then is there anything else like in between floater guys?
Yeah, there's tweeners, like guys who kind of like, they're not really either, or they kind of like, they're almost like a flip-flopper. I don't know, like, what are those D&D nerds? Chaotic neutral or something like that, where they're just like in the middle.
Okay.
And probably just alienated half the crowd.
They're not nerds, they're enthusiasts.
There it goes. My bad. I'll change my vocabulary for that one.
Well, yeah. But you, however, would you consider yourself a babyface at this point in your BEW career?
In my BEW career, I definitely consider myself more a babyface. The big thing is like I'm not going to be one of those rah like, come on guys, get behind me. Like those guys are good, and they're good at what they do. There's the lumberjack Larrys like we had in our last show, and they're really good at that. But I'm there, I do it right, and I don't cheat, but I'm also there to win. So like that's the big thing is I'm there to win. I'm not there to win at any cost, but like I'm going to do what's right more than anything, but I'm not going to cheat.
That's why you're not going to make it, buddy.
I know. Nice guys finish last so often.
You're saying that as you're currently wearing your Y Division Championship belt, so suck it, Josh.
I wear it at home. I just walk around the house in my belt.
Nothing else.
Exactly.
Well, I guess I should have realized this. I was drinking that night, but I attended the last BEW event in Red Deer anyways. And I am just realizing, well, you kind of filled me in offline, that you won the championship belt that night. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. Yeah, it was, the promoter was very big on having this a big, spectacular show. And he wanted to put up, his titles up for grabs, to kind of like put the exclamation point at the end. So, you know, the heavyweight title was decided, the women's title, the tag titles, and the Y division was up. And so, you know, I was in a fatal four-way with three other guys, Sean Martins, Rich King, and Lumberjack Larry. And, you know, it was all over the place. Everything was going on, and, you know, I came out on top. So I'm really happy about that.
Hell yeah. That's some fierce competition, man.
Well, like, so you take a look, there's two other, like, MPW heavyweight champs, you know, like Lumberjack Larry, Sean Martins. These guys have won titles in other promotions. So, you know, like, it's the promoter brought in not just like a bunch of guys from one promotion. He brought in, you know, a nice collection of a bunch of different, you know, athletes from different promotions. Because I think he wants to bring in the best from, you know, Western Canada, at least right now. So, you know, to right now have that title means a lot.
Yeah, hell yeah. So you're going to be defending this title here on December 12th at Festival Hall in Red Deer, Alberta?
That's the plan. You know, there's a couple potential opponents, and I told the promoter it really doesn't matter who. I'm there to beat all comers, and really for me, it's, you know, I don't care who you put in front of me. I'm planning on leading with that belt.
Hell yeah. So for the folks at home that may not realize that, you know, you're no stranger to fighting in a ring, but wrestling wasn't your first love. Is that accurate?
Well, so that's yes and no. Actually, wrestling was my first love.
Okay.
But, you know, there's the underlined, you know, like when you see it written in capitals.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I was told I was too small to pro wrestle when I was coming up. And then, you know, that was in, you know, early 2000s, you know, it's the end of the 90s where, you know, it's still the big guy kind of era, you know, so to speak. And so I transitioned. I was an amateur wrestler in high school and in university. And I transitioned to professional fighting, you know, having a fair amount of kickboxing fights, having a couple boxing fights, and then fighting professionally, you know, making my way up to winning a national title in MMA, and then fighting in the UFC.
Yeah, so that is what I was alluding to, folks at home. He's a actual MMA UFC
yeah, I
fighter.
took a long way there. Sorry.
No, that's cool. I was gonna ask you all of that anyways. So yeah, you made it to the big times in that. I don't know, the MMA circuit, I guess you would say. So what was that like for you?
Yeah. You know, it's kind of daunting. You know what I mean? After I retired, we kind of like crunched some of the numbers, and like I fought at lightweight, which is 155. I don't walk around at 155. Some people get that weird notion, and it's not a thing. Like I walk around probably close to 190 when I was cutting weight to 155. But like in my weight division, there was around 36 or 37,000 athletes in the world at that weight class. And at one point I was in the top 20, but you know, like once you make that the big show, it's just like, it's a whole new level. It's just like, everyone's a tough fight. The level that you have to be at to compete there, let alone win there, is crazy. And you just realize that how good you have to be to, like, you get there, and then it's all about staying there. So really it brought a lot of really good things out of me. In terms of, you know, I had to work my butt off. I had to train as hard as I could. You know, every day was about getting 1% better. And it was just a slow, like, you got to look, it's all about the journey. So for me, it was a big deal, you know, to win multiple times there in a row and do all these different things. But, you know, when it was kind of time for me to go, I was good. And then it was time to, you know, go after my other passion, which was pro wrestling.
So did you take a little bit of time off after that, or did you just get the itch you needed to get in that ring again?
Yeah, I went from what was it? I retired, and then I went back to freestyle wrestling at the University of Alberta with them because I still had eligibility. And then right away, as soon as there was a mini camp for training, I started my training for pro wrestling.
Okay. So you didn't.
So within like 4 months. So.
You didn't sit on your butt too much. right back up there.
I see a lot of athletes that when they stop, if they stop completely, is where things start really going downhill for a lot of people, because they miss, there's something missing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they fill it with bad stuff. And for me, I needed to fill it with competing. And for me, it was amateur wrestling and pro wrestling.
Yeah, because I'm going to have to assume that for you to get to the level you did as a fighter, like you obviously are a very competitive guy. So if you don't have something filling that, you'd be like, punching your wife for beating you at Mario Kart or something, like just
she never wins at Mario Kart.
No.
Must just be me. There's that, but idle hands are the devil's playground, I think. So I think it's important to, I just had to do something. You're used to spending, 6, 7, 8 hours a day training, and then it's filled with, when it's empty, it just feels weird. So for me, it was really important to fill that time again with something, and then you might as well do something you love. So I was very, very lucky, very blessed to start at it. And, I've had fun and had success, and just want to keep that train running.
Yeah, absolutely. So did that nickname of Danger Zone, is that something you were given back when you were in the UFC style fighting?
That was after my third pro fight, my third pro MMA fight. I got a shirt made for, we got a bunch of shirts made for one of these fights. It was so I could, sell some merch, make some money, all the good stuff that, you still do now. But it was like a caricature of me, and it said welcome to the Danger Zone. And one of my teammates, he always likes to poke you, just a little bit. So he's one of those guys. So as he's doing that, he's like, "Oh yeah, how's it going there, Mr. Danger Zone?" I'm like, that's not my name. It's not a nickname. It's stupid. And those are the ones that stick, unfortunately. And so I was at a pro at the fight, and the announcer comes by and says, "Any fight nicknames?" Like, nope. And he was in my corner, this teammate, and so he kind of walks away. I'm getting my hands taped, and he's like, "It's Danger Zone." So I'm getting ready for this fight, and they announce, Mitch Danger Zone Clarke, and right away, you don't want to lose that focus, but in your head, you're like, I'm going to beat up Victor for this.
That's amazing. So did you get him after the match?
Oh yeah, real bad. Yeah. And I won the fight, so it was 2 for 1. It was a really good day. Overall, very good day.
So then you had no choice but to embrace the name.
Well, yeah. Well, it caught on, and it's different. In fighting, there's so many of these terrible fight nicknames like pit bulls and something assassin, and they're all so lame. So it's nice to have something different. So for me, it was different. It has that weird kitschy story. It comes with great music. So there's all these different things that kind of help it. So I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah,
for sure. That was what I was going to say. As soon as you hear the first, note of the keyboard or whatever the hell that is, or the old 80s bass, it's you know what's coming. And then if they know you're coming out shortly after. So.
Exactly. So you got to use it. If you're using the nickname, you got to have, some Top Gun Kenny Loggins going on.
Oh, absolutely. Well, speaking of your transition to wrestling, I saw this quote on the internet, and the internet's never lied, but tell me if this is accurate. You said, "Fighters fight, talkers talk. I'm sick of all this baloney. People just talking. It's becoming pro wrestling. If I wanted to become a part of pro wrestling, I'd go do pro wrestling." Did you actually say that?
Oh yeah, I said that. That was the exact words. I was, cause it was during this time when I think it was when Conor McGregor was getting real big, and then everyone thought they needed to talk trash. Oh. It was annoying. And, it was just if you like Conor, that's fine. It's just not my shtick. And really it kind of it overshadows some of the martial arts aspect. And the thing about fighting is you can't lie in fighting. Either you're good at fighting or you're not. Now, if you go to your normal person, everyone thinks they're good at fighting because anyone can make a fist and throw it. But the thing is there's a very small percentage of people who are actually good at fighting. And so you can't fake it. can't fake being good at fighting, at violence. You know what I mean? So for me, that was a very important thing. And then, like I said, when I wanted to do pro wrestling, I went and did pro wrestling, and I'm pretty happy with my choice.
Now the shit talking is embraced and encouraged, in fact.
Oh yeah, it's fun. You know, it's a fun thing to do. The thing is too is when you're in pro sports, because I was a pro MMA fighter for 11 years. I did pro kickboxing for a couple of years. You know, you get good. You get good at chirping. Mm-hmm. I equate it to like a hockey locker room where everyone is chirping everyone, mm-hmm. except everyone chirps each other, but also they can also beat the hell out of you. So it's a nice little like give and take where you got to watch what you say or how you approach it, but also it's fun. I like chirping people. It's a good time.
So even though you're the baby face good guy, you're still gonna give it to your opponents. You
gotta, you can't let them take too many liberties, right? And sometimes they feel like they can just say whatever they want, and they can't. So you gotta give it back to them sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, let's talk a bit more about the BEW here.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been wrestling with these guys?
That was their first official show. So,
so they're that.
So, yeah, they're brand new, and I know that like basically they were ready to go at the beginning of this year. Unfortunately, everything kind of went topsy-turvy. So instead we had to make some changes. Events got postponed. So, this was their first show. I was happy to be a part in their inaugural show. And hopefully, there's going to be a bunch more.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely looking forward to more. So I was going to ask a bunch of in-depth questions, but I guess you're learning about the BEW just as much as I am, but I guess go ahead.
But like there's other things that like there's a lot like the booker has had tons of experience. Claude himself has wrestled for many, many years in Canada and in the States as well. So he brings like experience, but also you take a look at the athletes competing. Lots of people have been, wrestling for quite a while. So it's kind of nice in that sense where you have an experienced locker room, even though the event itself is young.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said offline, there's a lot of guys that have, even like I attended the CWE event last weekend and, there's some familiar faces, right? So
yeah,
it's not just Johnny from next door. It's
Johnny from next door, who's wearing cutoff shorts. And like, I think we've all seen that viral video of the guy jumping off the second turnbuckle and both his legs breaking underneath him. Yeah. No one wants to be that guy. No one. I hope not. I don't.
Well, speaking of jumping off the turnbuckle, would you mind, Mitch Danger Zone Clarke as the wrestler, what is your finishing move? What's the one that when people see you pull that one off, it's game over for your opponent?
Well, I use the ankle lock. It's familiar, it's an homage, so to speak, to Ken Shamrock and his legacy. The other thing I use is an AMF neck breaker. So it's a reverse neck breaker, sit down neck breaker. Do you remember Rick Rude?
Yeah. Ravishing.
Yeah. So it's very ravishing Rick Rude. It's very similar to the Rude Awakening in that, except when I pick up the neck, I'm holding it in a grommet choke when I do the sit down. So it's devastating in that sense.
Sweet, man. Well, that's going to be another one of my questions is who are your personal heroes in the wrestling world growing up?
In the wrestling world, I always gravitated, if you saw my shorts, not my pants, they're very flamboyant, so to speak. And I wasn't even wearing the crazy ones that I normally wear. So those are toned down, so to speak. But obviously really liked Macho Man Randy Savage. And then also I was a big fan of Ravishing Rick Rude, especially when, you're starting to learn more about pro wrestling, about how good some of these guys were. He was an excellent guy to watch, Canadian. So I loved Bret Hart and, British Bulldog, those types of guys. But I was a big fan of Macho Man Randy Savage, even as a heel. It made me sad, as he's cheering for him when he was a heel, when he was Macho King, or, even his other runs as Macho Man. But, him and Rick Rude are two of my favorites.
Okay, so on the other hand, who was the wrestler that you just hated? I mean, maybe not as an adult, but looking back, like who were you like, oh, I hate that guy. And why was it Gold Dust?
I just like, it wasn't Gold Dust. I just found him weird. I kind of like just felt bad for him, you know. He's obviously a weirdo, but for me, it was, I hated Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Oh yeah,
because he's just like that. He just had that kind of like that braggadocious, terrible attitude, and he'd always win, and he was like, there was all these things that he just had this smug. And then when he turned face, I was like, I don't like you as a face either. So he was one guy I really disliked. I'm trying to think of some other guys that really like got underneath my skin. You know what else I really hated? Ultimate Warrior.
Really? It's just too much?
Yes. I think it was because he beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania. And then we won't even talk about Halloween Havoc, but I just hated him. And now looking as an adult, I hate him even more because he's a terrible wrestler.
Oh, really?
Awful.
All I really see is his absolutely insane promos that are always
his promos are crazy good. He's got a lot of energy, but then you think about what he does well in the ring besides shake the rope. He shakes the rope really, really good, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. Like, his finisher is like, he's a slightly bigger guy, but he's doing just a splash as a finisher. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of things that make you go, what's, like, you're a limited guy. Also, his clotheslines were garbage.
It's always interesting to hear a wrestler's point of view on some of these guys, because I don't know anything.
Great energy, good look. Like, he had a lot of things going well for him, but at the same time, like, when you start like learning more about how to pro wrestle, like, oh man, some of these guys I really liked are bad, and it sucks.
That's good, man. Awesome, man. Well, I'll start wrapping this up, let you get on with your pumpkin carving, but I'm really excited about December 12th. I hope you are as well.
I'm super excited. Anytime I get to get in the ring and put it on the line, so to speak, I'm having a good time. It's like, at the end of the day, it's about competing. And if you're not being the best you can be, then what's the point in going out there? So for me, I'm really looking forward to December 12th.
Hell yeah, man. And one last question. So the next day when you wake up after a wrestling match, whether it's BW or MPW or whatever you're doing, or after one of your UFC matches, like, which one is more painful in the morning the next day for you?
I mean, like, this is one of the few times where I will say that it's after a fight. Like, after I beat John McGuire, I was like I hurt so bad for days and days and days. Like, just my muscles hurt, my back, my upper back, like, not even my lower back, because I'm not an old man yet, but like, my upper back was so tight from like grabbing and holding and hitting and all these things, the weight cut, all these other things that went into it. And I was just like, the adrenal fatigue, I was wiped out for a week. With pro wrestling the next day, I'm sore. Like, I'm usually there's days where I'm like, oh, it's sore. Don't want to move my neck to, like, I can't shoulder check or whatever, which it still sucks. But the big thing is I've been really lucky. I've been really lucky with whom I've worked with. I've never really, I'm not on wood, sustained anything terrible. But the big thing is just like, and also I'm pale too. So like, in my UFC fights, I mark up really well on my face. So like, I get touched a little bit and I look like I have a black eye, just because I'm super Irish and Swedish in my family. So like, there's no chance of me ever getting a tan, unfortunately. like I have the skin complexion of a polar bear and Elton John. So
that's quite the combo.
So I marked, yeah, it's quite the combo. Hence you see why I'm so pasty white. But overall, it's one of those things where I'm usually I was hurting a lot after MMA fights, and like, you hurt after pro wrestling fights, but it wasn't the same.
Good to know, man. So Before I let you go, what message you have for your potential opponent on December 12th at Festival Hall in Red Deer, Alberta, Canada?
It doesn't matter what you bring. I'm coming there to win. You know, whether it's tap out or pin, I'm leaving with that belt. It doesn't matter who you are or what you bring. I'm bringing the best me, and that's all that matters.
You've been warned, potential opponent.
Whomever you are.
It doesn't matter. You'll have to take that belt from his cold, dead hands.
Exactly.
All right, Mitch. I really appreciate you calling in. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to December 12th, man. I will see you there.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I will see you there. It should be a good time.
Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Brutal Reality Digest Online Podcast. Don't forget to come out on December 12th to Festival Hall in Red Deer, Alberta for some amazing BEW action. Until next time, stay brutal.
You see why I'm so pasty white? You see why I'm so pasty white? You see why I'm so pasty white? You see why I'm so pasty white?